Two in a row. Two in a row. And back to tapes next week for a while. Well, not really. Take it week to week. This one is special to me that it came to me in a dream. That doesn't happen very often. And nothing special here. It's the Word of God. The title of this one, Godsplainin His Word to those who didn't get His simple instructions. First off, let me explain that word, Godsplainin. Some of you haven't been abreast of any of that's going on, and there's a whole roiling thing going on out there. The same old stuff, men versus women. All these years, who among us haven't been touched by this in some way or shape or form? And they still don't get it. Equality isn't the thing here. Men and women aren't equal. Each has unique gifts of their own. One can never explain fully this to either side because they all have the world's thing of equality in mind. How is an orange equal to a spoon? It's not. This word explaining, Godsplainin, to those unfamiliar with it, the initial word, though, is mansplaining. It's a pejorative term meaning to comment on something, explaining it to a woman in a condescending, overconfident, and often inaccurate or oversimplified manner. The first one to use this is, I don't even know this is Rebecca Solnit. Somebody knows who that is. And she ascribes this phenomenon is a combination of overconfidence and cluelessness on the part of the man, always. This word, I used it as this Godsplainin because it, in that form, no way, shape, or form describes the maker of this universe. So its use thusly replaces this word squarely onto the bold square shoulders of the guilty parties in this travesty. And that is what they are. And this is a travesty. In every way possible, it's a travesty. Why? Elohim's simple instructions were understood by man every time. Godsplaining ain't mansplaining. But he explained himself to us simply. And the instructions were complete. No one followed. Revelation 22:18. Revelation, the 22nd verse. '18th, 22nd chapter, 18th verse. For I testify together, everyone who hears the prophecies of this book, the words of this prophecy of this book, if anyone adds anything to these things, Yahweh will add unto him the plagues that have been written in this book. And if anyone takes away from the words of this book of prophecies, Yahweh will take away his part in the book of life. We all know the book of life. Your name is not there. That's it for you. No kingdom for you. And out of the holy city, and from these things which he has written in this book, he who testifies these things says, yes, I am coming quickly. Amen. Yes, come Master Yeshua. Grace of our Master Yeshua, Messiah, be with you all. Amen. Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, the 2nd verse. Further explaining, you shall not add unto this word, which I command you, neither shall you diminish it, anything from it, that you may keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you. Need more? Jeremiah, 26th chapter, 2nd verse. Thus says Yahweh, stand in the court of Yahweh's house and speak to all the cities of Judah, and they come to worship him in the house of Yahweh. All the words that I command you to speak to them, do. Not hold back a word. It may be they will listen. Already their track record has preceded them. Even here, it may be they will listen. And everyone turn from his evil way, that I may relent of the disaster that I intend to do them because of their evil deeds. You shall say to them, thus says Yahweh, if you will not listen to me to walk in my law that I have set before you, and to listen to the words of my servants, the prophets, whom I sent to you urgently, though you have not listened, He knows his people. He knows us well. Then I will make this house like Shiloh, and I will make this city a curse for all the nations on the earth. The priests and the prophets and all that heard, the people heard Jeremiah speaking these words in the house of Yahweh. And when Jeremiah finished speaking all these words that Yahweh had commanded him to speak to all the people, then the priests and all the prophets and all the people laid hold on him, saying, "You shall die." Why have you prophesied in the name of Yahweh, saying, "This house shall be like Shiloh, and this house shall be desolate, without inhabitant"? And all the people gathered up around Jeremiah in the house of the Lord. When the official of Judah heard these things, they came up from the king's house to the house of Yahweh and took their seats in the entry gate of the house of Yahweh. And they will stand there and intimidate Jeremiah. This has been the way of God's people from the beginning. These warnings have fallen on deaf ears time and time again. And from the beginning, the people Yahweh made to populate this planet did the same thing that the Israelites did. They doubted him, and they doubted his word. No matter how clear he made it to them, they clouded it up somehow and got it wrong somehow. In many cases, they substituted the book he gave them for another altogether. And many of them can't follow that one either. They can't even follow their own rules, much less the rules of Yahweh. Doubted him from the very beginning. Genesis, the 2nd chapter, the 4th verse. These are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created in the day your Yahweh Elohim created them, earths and the heavens. And every shrub of the field was not yet on the earth, and every plant of the field had not yet sprung up, for Yahweh Elohim had not sent rain to the earth. And no man was there to till the ground. And mist went up from the ground and watered the face of the ground. And Yahweh Elohim formed the man out of the dust of the ground and blew into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul, nephesh. And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden in Eden to the east, and he put the man whom he had formed there. And out of the ground, Yahweh Elohim made to spring up every tree that was pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life was there also in the middle of the garden. Also, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was there. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and there it was divided and became 4 heads. The name of the first was Pishon. It is the one surrounding all of the land of Havilah, where gold is. The gold of the land is good. There is bdellium, gold, gum resin, and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one surrounding all the land of Cush. And the third name of the third river is Tigris. It is one going east of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. And Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, eating, you may eat of every tree in the garden, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you may not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, dying you shall die. Unique wording there. Dying you shall die. Even this, he told him what was going to happen. Dying you shall die. And Yahweh said, Elohim said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. And Yahweh formed every animal of the field and every bird of the heavens of the ground. And he brought the man each one to see what he named it. And all which the man called it, each living soul, that was its name. He named every creature on the planet. And all which the man might call it, each was his name. And the man called names to all cattle and all the birds of the heavens and to animals of the field, but no helper suited for him was found for man. No big thing. And Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man. And he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed the flesh underneath. An interesting thing about that particular rib, it's the only bone in your body that can reproduce itself. Long time we didn't know this. Medicine just came out with that recently. That first rib is a gold mine for every cell in the body. Who else would have known that but the builder and maker? And Yahweh took out of his ribs and closed up the flesh underneath and formed the rib which he had taken from the man into a woman and brought her to the man. And the man said, "This now at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. For this shall be called woman, because this has been taken out of man." And the only part of the man that completely encompassed him, no one else, nothing else would compliment man more than this woman.
That's right.
But they have fought ever since this time about nothing. And no one can quell the fighting. And they both were naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. And they both turned away from the one that gave them life. A warning to those out there who have it their way now in this MGTOW movement that's going on now, where the men go their own way. We always have, guys. We knew everything. And we knew nothing. And still know nothing. You're supposed to know. And the women, the same. I'll stop right there. They both turned away from the one who gave them life. And this is a warning for all those out here thinking that's some new thing, this MGTOW thing. Men going their own way. Men going their own way without women. I have an opinion about that, and it is not the one that you think. Think again. And this time, trust Yahweh, and you'll be closer to it. Genesis, the 3rd chapter, the 1st verse. Now, the movement has legs. Now, the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field that Yahweh Elohim had made, and he said to the woman, "Is it so that Yahweh has said, you shall not eat of every tree in the garden?" Is it so that Yahweh has said, you shall not eat of the trees in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, Yahweh has said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And we all just read that. That's not what he said. He said nothing about touching it, lest you die. Nothing at all about touching it. let's go eat from it, nothing about touching it. The devil is cunning, more so than we will ever be. Those who run around smacking up his head and all that, you heard it. Believe none of it. You're gonna get smacked up in good fashion, and get left here dead if you keep it up. He was fully aware from this one vagabond statement that she made that, hey, wiggle room, folks. We have division between these two. And the serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die. For Yahweh knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as Yahweh, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasing to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise. Perhaps as wise as him. And I'm not saying anything that's not true, and say it, I will. And not ducking either. Throw your best. Anytime a woman has opportunity, a best man, she's going to do it. She's going to do it. And she's going to do it in such a way that many times that he doesn't know it's done. She took of the fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her. Where? With her. Say it again. No long past it was involved. No number 10 bombs like that one that he should have thrown last week in the playoff game that would have won the game for him with no need for a field goal from a guy most of them he's go back to the real stuff. That one stuck in my craw. It did. It stuck in my craw because I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming down to a field goal. And that field goal wasn't coming, and I knew it. But the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasing to the eyes and a tree to make one wise. And she took of it and ate and threw a bomb to her husband. No. He was right there with her. And he ate. And the eyes of both of them were open. And they knew that they were naked. A whole lot of other thoughts came flooding through there too. Thoughts that maybe made them think twice about that decision they made. And they sewed fig leaves together and made girdles for themselves. Wow. I hadn't thought of that before. And these monkeys are thinking the same stuff. No, they weren't. That was all you all. That the cloak came off. All kind of vagabond thoughts were coming at them then. Stuff that they had never thought of. Yahweh had. Verse 8, and they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim in the middle of the trees in the garden. And Yahweh Elohim called to Adam, "Where are you?" A rhetorical question, obviously. And he said, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I am naked." You made that way, you idiot. I've been here for several days that way. You just now knew that? You did something, didn't you? You did something that you weren't supposed to do, weren't you? And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree which I commanded you that you should not eat?" The good lawyer knows the question's answer before he asks it. He asks it to confirm he suspected already. And the man said, in typical MGTOW fashion, "The woman who you gave to me, we did eat." She gave me of the tree, and I ate. And Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, "What is it you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." And Yahweh Elohim said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, are you cursed of all cattle, and more than every animal of the field. You shall go on your belly, and you shall eat dust all the days of your life." And heard somewhere that in the kingdom, he's gonna eat the same thing. Your mistakes have consequences. Make them seldom. And one way you do that is follow this word, not some movement. "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He will bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." To the woman, he said, "I will greatly increase your sorrow in your conception. In pain you shall bear sons, and your desire shall be towards your husband, and he shall rule over you." And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it. Cursed, the ground is cursed for your sake. In pain shall you eat of it all the days of your life. It shall also bring forth thorns and thistles to you. And you shall eat the herb of the field, and the sweat of your face you shall eat it. Before this, things jumped out the ground practically. Now you got weed and seed and everything. Ma, you know. Beautiful garden over there. But elbow grease. Plenty of elbow grease. You're going to be somewhat mad at him when you see him in the kingdom, aren't you? And you ladies who have had babies, don't you all be side-eyeing Eve in the garden when you see her. And some of you will, I know that you, maybe you won't. Things will say things there are good, and so good, in fact, that all of this stuff is a distant memory.
That's right. Exactly. That's right.
Mom said that distant, that they ain't there yet. It will be. It will be. Adam and his wife made them now skins. That leaf was tacky anyway. Yahweh made them coats of skins and clothed them properly. And Yahweh Elohim said, behold, the man has become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat it and live forever. Therefore, Yahweh sent him out of the garden to till the ground from which he had been taken. And he drove the man out of the garden, and he placed cherubs at the east of the garden of Eden, and a flaming sword he had turned every way to guard the way back in to the tree of life. And why? He wouldn't do it. Somebody would. I wouldn't say which one, but somebody had it in their mind to go back and eat that fruit too. This has always been the sin of a marked people. All of us fall short of the mark on some level. The Israelites did, and then many times. Daniel, 9th chapter, the 10th verse. We have not obeyed the voice of Yahweh, our Elohim, to walk in his laws, which he set before us, his servants, the prophets. Yea, all Israel has transgressed the law and turned aside, that they might not obey your voice. Therefore the curse has been poured out on us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, because we have sinned against him. And he has confirmed his words which he spoke against us, against our judges who judged us by bringing us a great evil. That is something, to admit that. Your judges brought this evil on you, and you still haven't done right. And he has confirmed his words, which he spoke against us and our judges who judged us, by bringing us a great evil from under all the heavens. It has not been done as it has been done in Jerusalem. And the church is now under the same indictments, throwing out the 10 Commandments. Throw them out. Romans, the 3rd chapter, the 21st verse. But now a righteousness of God has been revealed apart from the law, being witnessed by the law and the prophets. Even the righteousness of God through the faith of Yeshua Messiah toward all men, upon all those who believe. For there is no difference, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Messiah, Yeshua, whom God has set forth to be a propitiation through faith in his blood, to declare his righteousness through the passing by of the sins that had taken place before in the forbearance of God, for the display of his righteousness at this time. For him to be just and forgiving, the one being of the faith of Yeshua. Then, where is this boasting coming from? It is excluded. Through what law? Of works? No, but through the law of faith. Therefore, we conclude that a man is justified by law, faith without works or the law, or he is the God of the Jews only, and not also of the nations. Yet of the nations also, since it is one God who will justify the circumcision by faith and uncircumcision through faith. Do we then make the law void through faith? Let it not be, but we establish the law. It is a fundamental requisite of all true faith that we, at some point, humble ourselves, the sinner, and exalt God. And every system which breeds this self-righteousness in us cherishes boasting, bears falsehood on its face. Romans, the 3rd chapter, the 22nd verse. Romans, the 3rd chapter, the 27th verse. What then becomes of our boasting? It is excluded by what kind of law? A law of works? No, but by the law of faith. For we have faith in that one is justified by faith apart of works of the law. The fitness of the gospel to be a universal religion, and no one wants it as one because they will be warned to obey it. No one wants that. The fitness of it, though, to be universal, beneath that which the guilty of every name and degree are invited and warranted to shelter, to take shelter in it, repose in it, in gloriousness. This gloriousness is evidence of its truth. Romans, the 3rd chapter, the 29th verse. Or is it God, the God of the Jews only? That's what they said. And we'll know more about how far they got in that next week. Is he not the God of the Gentiles also? Yes, of Gentiles also. Since God is one who will justify the circumcised by faith and the uncircumcised through faith in his law. The glory of God's law is in its eternal and immutable obligations, is then only fully apprehended, however, by a sinner. And the only way it is enthroned in the depths of his soul when he believes that his sin made him somehow less. He sees himself made righteous from the God within him. Second Corinthians, the 5th chapter, the 21st verse. For our sake, he made sin. He made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. We do not make void the law, through faith, yea, we establish the law. So many have forsaken this book for their own safe harbors from their own sins, their own lifestyle choices, their own personal going their own way type of movements, going away from the Word of God. Initially, Christianity was viewed as a sect of Judaism. And in some ways it was. Some ways. They never established the law fully. No one did. The Jews didn't. We didn't. No one did. All have written other books that they placed above and beyond the Bible. And this they keep. All started AD 77 or so. 70 ended it. And some were still fighting in 132 to 135 AD. The temple was long gone then. And someone said somewhere, I leave your house desolate. Some people don't believe that, but the stuff that's getting ready to happen over there, it's a harbinger for us, a cipher for us, at which point we are in prophecy. So all have done this. Jewish religious practices, many of which continued in the early church, came to be viewed with hostility throughout the Roman Empire. Many among the church began to abandon these practices from the pressure of the surrounding environment. The church began to abandon these practices, including the observance of the biblical Sabbath, the seventh-day Sabbath, and the attendant festivals. No clear references to Sunday as a day of Christian worship are found. And some men to this day have these rewards they find up, and they have found no one to collect the reward because the proof isn't there of a Sunday date anywhere in the Christian church. The Catholics long ago shut that down when they admitted themselves that they changed that date. No clear references to Sunday emerged. Some lost writings of Barnabas and Justin Martyr around 80 or so, 135 AD and 150 AD or somewhere around there. But observance of Sunday as the primary day of worship began in people's hearts. It's written nowhere. And it's not their hearts that went bad. Their heads went bad. And fear overtook them. Emperor Hadrian, who harshly persecuted the Jews throughout the Roman Empire, Hadrian specifically prohibited practices of Judaism, including observance of the seventh-day Sabbath. These oppressive measures apparently influenced many Christians in Rome to abandon the seventh day and turn to Sunday. The day for honoring the sun god among the Romans and other peoples around the pagan world. Christianity was declared the official religion of the Roman Empire in the 4th century. This process accelerated from here. In the year 321 AD, Constantine declared on the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and cities residing, the people there residing in rest, and let all workshops be closed on Sunday. Now, nowhere have we seen that Yahweh or Yeshua changed anything. Mankind, under the pressure of the world, changed these things without any permission at all. As a matter of fact, anyone remember this? Exodus, the 20th chapter, the first verse. And Yahweh spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh, your Elohim, who has brought you out of the land of Egypt. From the house of bondage. You shall not have any other Elohims before me. Small e. You shall not make any graven image for yourself, or any likeness in the heavens above, or in the earth beneath, or in the waters beneath the earth. You shall not bow to them, and you shall not serve them, for I am Yahweh, your Elohim, a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the sons on the fathers on the third generation, to those who hate me, and doing kindness to thousands to love me, and those keeping my commandments. There it is again. You shall not take the name of Yahweh your God in vain, for Yahweh will not leave unpunished the one who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. And the seventh day is a Sabbath to Yahweh your Elohim. And you shall not do any work. You and your son and your daughter and your male slave and your slave girl and your all who in your gates. People get mad at you and you order them to go to church in your house. What right do you have to do that? Right there. Right there. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them. And he rested on the seventh day. On the account of this, Yahweh blessed that Sabbath and sanctified it. Honor your father and your mother so that your days may be long on the land which your Yahweh, your Elohim, is giving to you. You shall not murder. Oh, that one shook some people up. We love bloodshed. You shall not commit adultery. Uh-oh. Lost a few there. You shall not steal. Lost a few more there. You shall not testify a witness of falsehood against your neighbor. You're gonna leave everybody by the time we got to 10. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male slave, his slave girl, his ox, or his donkey, or anything which belongs to your neighbor. Oh man, about 12 of y'all left. And all the people heard the thunder and lightning and the sound of the ram's horn and the smoking mountain. And the people said, and they trembled, and they stood off a distance. And they said, Moses, you speak with us, and we will hear. And let us not speak with God that we die. Why do we die? We haven't done any of this stuff. And we in trouble. And Moses said to the people, do not be afraid, for God has come in order to test you, so that his fear may be on your faces, that you may not sin. Everybody forgets these under the pressure of the world. And that pressure is about to be ramped up again. Anybody sees it. But remember this. John, the 14th chapter, the 15th verse. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. John 15, 10. If you keep my commandments, if you keep saying that, it's something to it. Something to it. You will abide in my love, and just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. Keep in mind that you can't get into the kingdom without the Spirit of Yeshua in your heart. Your way to prove you're in him and he is in you. To live his commandments daily. Some just do it around other Christians or believers, and that's not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough. John, first chapter, the second verse, second chapter, third verse.
7:3?
1 John, the second chapter. First John, second chapter, third verse. And in this we know that we have known him. If we what?
Keep his commandments.
Keep saying the same thing. That enough Godsplaining for you? And in this, we know that we have known him if we what? Keep his commandments. He that says, I have known him and does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. That, in the present sense, is most of the world. I said it. But they have time to come back into the fold. Whichever fold. The truth is, in the end, one thing and one thing only will set you free from the toils of this sin-sick world. Yeshua Messiah in you. The only way out of this world alive. No other way. What the others say, oh, we got a dozen ways. That's another money hand's house. What that guy got dozen ways to my baby's door. That's the same thing. Not the same thing. One way. Through Yeshua the Messiah. You is no other way. The Bible explained it plainly, and it was plainly understood. Now, those of you who have gone off in other books and other saviors and other holy books and other saviors and so forth, I can't speak to that. I know this. And it was what held me through strokes and not done yet. Not done yet. Some folk I think I have done enough, but as long as people out here that won't tell the truth, I will keep doing it. And that's it.
Amen.